Hey guys, in this video I'll tell you what are the best combos for the custom warriors, so-called established leagues, and what are the combinations I think are very good and in some cases even better than the 5 main ones we have in the codex. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So the first thing I wanted to build is an alternative to the Kronos Hegemony, because it's the only combat-oriented league we have, and I wanted to have some options. So here is my take on it. First of all, I wanted to give them Martian clotheskins, obviously because it's the +1 strength, which is what the Kronos Hegemony has, their first trait. And as we discussed in top 3 Leagues of Votann video, which I recommend to watch if you haven't yet, is that +1 strength is very important, first of all, for your troops to make them fight better against Marines, T4 targets, whatever, light vehicles, elite units, and even T8 targets, to blink off 1 or 2 wounds when such a chance arises, and that actually sometimes happens. I don't recommend to put your Hearthkin warriors against a knight, but if such thing happens and you find yourself in that situation, it will be very helpful to wound on 5s instead of 6s. So also it brings your berserkers to strength 6 on the sweep, which is one of the best profiles, which is I think the best profile they have, especially against -1 damage targets. That's just precious. It's the only thing you should use against the -1 damage targets, because damage 2 would be useless and you would get twice the amount of attacks. And for example, the Hearthguard concussion gauntlets go up to strength 9, which is very useful against T8, and surprisingly T9, which is also on the scene now with the Astra Militarum tanks. So it's something you can encounter with Land Raiders and the Astra Militarum super heavy and heavy tanks. But that's the trait we all know from Hegemony. The second one is actually pretty different, and it's called Honor in Toil, and it's a very good one. It's +1 to hit when you are under starting strength, and when your unit is under starting strength. So it means that if your 10-man unit lost 1 guy, that unit fights and shoots with +1 to hit. That's just incredible. Imagine losing 1 Terminator and all your rest 9 Terminators are suddenly hitting on 2s in shooting and combat for the entirety of the game until they are dead. So that's very good. It makes them basically space wolves. Like +1 to hit is a space wolf trait, and that's very, very strong. And the cool part about that, compared to Hegemony, which all traits with Hegemony are only helping you in combat, this one is actually very strong in shooting. And a lot of Hearthkin and most Leagues of Votann units are very good in shooting, which is why it's helpful to have some traits that work both ways. But it would not be a real alternative to the Hegemony if we had no way to increase the amount of attacks, and that's what the Brutal Efficiency Ancestral Judgment helps us with, because it's an exploding 6s in melee against targets with only 1 judgment token, and it's relatively easy to get 1 judgment token on your target. So you would get exploding 6s, which in combination with +1 to hit from Honor and Toil would be probably in some cases even better than the +1 attack. So let me know what you think about this combination. Obviously, you don't get the incredible Warlord trait that you have with Kronos, but you can actually substitute that with another very good reroll all wounds in melee and ignore damage rules from the main Warlord trait sheet. So that's not a big loss. And you also lose the 1 command point 6s exploding 6s to hit in melee stratagem, which is a big blow in my opinion. But I think that in general this alternative to Hegemony is very interesting for the sole reason that you can actually get some benefits to your shooting whilst being very, very close combat oriented. So let me know what you think. Next is the Universal League, and that's probably my favorite one. I really like armies that can do well both in combat and shooting. It's very often difficult to do because, for obvious reasons, you gotta give somewhere to take somewhere, so probably you would not be that as powerful in combat as the army that is mainly combat and not as powerful in shooting, but you have the advantage of being very, very active in all the phases. And that's what I like. So I've built this league, and the first trait there is actually a survivability trait. And I think it's a very, very good one. It's void hardened, which is basically permanent baby transhuman. What's it called in the industry? And it's the rule that allows you not to be wounded ever, no matter what are the rules or special conditions, stratagems, doesn't matter. You can never be wounded on 2s. That's very helpful for your characters, very helpful for your infantry. It's marginally helpful for your T5 units, unless you are playing against something that's either strength 10 or strength 6 with +1 to wound, or a weapon which always wounds on 2s, like Drukhari Poison. There are some things that do that in the game, so it's helpful even for your toughness 5 units as well. Next trait is Warrior Pride. I love this type of upgrade on any army, and Leagues of Votann are very, very good with it because they have a lot of those, like a very, very strong gun planted inside a big squad, and you would keep that reroll in case you need it for this gun, and if you don't, you just spend it on one of the shots from other guys. So it's very good, and it's also very good for your, for example, Einherjar Champion, which he would probably roll 1-1 out of his 4-5 attacks, however many you get, and you will be very happy to reroll that one. Also for your Magna Rail shot on your land fortress, which you don't get any rerolls otherwise on the tanks because they're not core. So again, a very good thing. And you also get the survivability from the first trait. And the last thing, which is the Ancestral Judgment, it's again the brutal efficiency because we need some help in melee. So you see, the first trait is survivability, second is more or less combat plus shooting buff, and the third one is your melee buff. So we are being buffed in all possible directions. This league is basically a twist on the Greater Thurian League, and of course, if you were to compare that to the Greater Thurian League, I would probably go for the first one if you are not playing a custom chapter, because you may have an army which is painted otherwise, and if you care about these things, you might want to build something of your own, and that's a good option for that, because you also get the survivability which you don't get with Greater Thurian League, provided the named character they have, the Uta, the Destined, he's extremely good, and before he gets a bit nerfed, he's probably one of the few reasons to play this league, apart from the generally good traits and nice warlord trait they have. So if you want something of your own, that's a very good option in my opinion. And the third option is the Shooty League. So you get the Weaponsmith upgrade, which is +4 to the range of all shooting weapons. And it's very important, as Leagues of Votann are a mid-ranged army, and if you are planning to make your emphasis in your army on shooting, you definitely need more range, because you will be charged very, very soon, and as you have not invested as much as maybe needed into the charging, into the melee, you definitely want to stay as far away as possible, not to get charged soon. You need to get the distance between you and the opponent, and the only way to do that is by increasing the range of your guns. And obviously 24 inches is nothing to write home about, especially if you are playing with your Terminators, and like Volkite Disintegrators are even shorter at 18 inches, so you definitely need those +4. I'll give you a good, in my opinion, example of how that matters. For example, if you shoot at Vanguard Vats with jump axe, when they are 18 inches away, you're shooting at them with 18-inch guns. It means that after their 12-inch move, they'll be within 6 of you, so it's a 5-inch charge. If you were shooting from 22 inches away, that 5-inch charge turns into a 9-incher. And if you've played 40k more than 3 times, you know what is the difference between a 5-inch charge and a 9-inch charge. It's much harder to make that charge. Second trait is again Warrior Pride, because it helps you both in melee and shooting, and it helps you with those all-important one-shot extremely powerful guns, which you do not want to miss with. So it's very good. It saves you a lot of command points and allows some of your units to operate more independently, like your bikers, for example. Of course, one reroll is just one reroll. It's not the same as having reroll once from your captain, but it's a good start. And third is the Ancestral Judgment Unwavering Discipline. You can ignore any or all hit roll, ballistic skill, weapon skill modifiers when targeting a unit with 1+ judgment token. Again, a very good one. It's easy to get 1 judgment token on a target, and obviously ignoring all modifiers that you want, so you can choose to keep the +1 to hit, but ignore the -1 to hit, or -2 to hit, however many minuses there are, and be hitting on 2s against a target which is very, very hard to hit. An extremely good trait, and the best part about it is that you can actually use that both in melee and in shooting. So if you are targeting a flyer, for example, even if the flyer is -2 to hit, which sometimes can happen still in 9th edition, you will still be hitting it on 3s or 2s, however well you are hitting with your unit. Ignoring dense cover, ignoring again minuses from your own weapons like concussion hammers and mauls, so a lot of benefits from that. And that's what you want with a Shooty League. You want to be able to reach out and touch far away, and you want your shots to actually mean something and to be delivered to your target. And that's what these three traits are helping you with massively. So that's it, guys. I hope this video was useful for you. Let me know if I have missed any of the maybe better or more powerful combinations, because I might have possibly. So I would be very interested to hear your opinion in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.